Hi, good morning. Again, Bill Dregge with Turnkey. Again, my role is kind of implementation. Again, been around the Microsoft stack quite a while now and done a lot with finance and operations previously. AX was the branding. A lot of the core feature functionality is AX based, but it has been enhanced, and particularly I think one of the things we want to make state really is the opportunity to have this as a subscription in the cloud. We talked just briefly at the end of the last session with talking about Business Central being a cloud-based product, but one of the things, the values that it offers here, or the various values that it offers here, is this native cloud deployment that gives you the ability to embed yourself in the Azure cloud with all the security capabilities in there. Also then delivers all these kinds of the IoT capability, the Cortana intelligence, because you're in that environment. Integration to these are very seamless. They're just there. They just get prompts within the software to turn it on or off, or embed it in your forecasting, or recognize it. Actually, even in the Business Central product, there's Cortana can if you put an image of a product up, it can recognize the image and say, oh, that looks like a ruler, or that looks like a book, or something like that. So the IoT is really starting to become prevalent and an integral part of your ERP system. So again, high availability, it's up all the time. I mean, I think we haven't made enough mention of the value of the cloud, and that's why I have this slide up here to talk about the high availability, never fails, uptime 99%, disaster recovery. Today, if you're fighting some of this stuff in-house with your on-prem systems, you know what that's about. Ransomware is huge today, right? We've all heard of companies that are getting attacked and having to ransom their data back from these pirates, basically. And again, once they get you, they'll continue to get you. Pure browser interface. So this is all a browser-based access, right? You see it's all coming through IE or Chrome or whatever browser of choice that you want to use. So it no big scenario with RDP or any of those connectivity issues that you may have had in the past. No need for a lot of that layer of connectivity that might affect performance. So just to give you a pitch for that, here's just a quote from a user that implemented Dynamics 365. And again, a large organization, TGI Fridays, I think most of you recognize that business. When they roll out software, they have to train thousands of people. They have a lot of turnover in that business, no doubt. It's just the ability to have this integration to the office, to the desktop, and the look and feel being consistent across the application, the ERP application, that allows people, and particularly millennials, to come in, get ramped up, and be ready to perform and be efficient. So just a nice statement about another value point here in terms of both the Business Central platform and finance and operations platform. So what's some of the big high-level features? Multi-company, multi-currency, multi-language, multi-localization, intercompany transactions, right? It seems to be that all these kind of things are happening in companies today, even at smaller scales than some of the big multinationals. We have a customer today that's Illinois and Mexico. All those Mexican users have localized Spanish on their desktop, right? So you can just turn it on based on your locale, based on the individual user, to get that language localization. Sure.
Is that also good to mobile as well?
Yes, mobile here as well, and you can construct your mobile workspaces. So we're going to talk here a little bit a different presentation in terms of workspace, but it was very much like what we did with the role-based stuff I just showed you in Business Central. This is probably a little more granular. Yeah. So when you're in your login capability, as you come in, there we go. So when you come in, your presentation, again, based on your user login, will give you your access here. I'm getting a full look at the application, and I'm going to get to a live demo. This is a screenshot now, but and it'll show you then I'll drop into my workspaces. I'm pre-assigned. I'll have that capability. And this is very deep in terms of roles and security, very highly configurable. We don't use the word customized really in our vocabulary. We use configuration because customization means I'm changing code. I'm not changing code. I'm using the configuration tools inside the software application to make the look and feel be optimal, make it the most efficient and effective and focused that I can make it. So what's in finance and operations? Obviously, financial management, accounts payable, receivable, budgeting, cash and bank, compliance, cost accounting, fixed assets, general ledger, project management, public sector. So this is the platform that has public sector accounting in it, if that applies to anyone. So yeah, just basically, a quick look. Here's a workspace, credit and collections. Get a quick visual. Where's my aging at? 30, 60, 90 days, 180, whatever. I drill down into that, that piece of the pie, and I go to those exact transactions so that I can start to work those. I'm going to show this in a live environment in a second. Then you start to send out dunning letters. You start your whole task management capability around credit and collection. So when did I last talk to this guy? What did he promise to me to pay? Did I follow up? I set all that up inside the system. So basically a light CRM related to that. There is, still again, Office 365, the real dynamic CRM, but there is inherent CRM in both Business Central and Finance and Operations. So you don't have to have a CRM subscription to operate in these ERP environments. Just a quick ledger, budget, forecast. I want to run this again. Dimensional accounting built into finance and operations as well. Again, with the dimensional accounting, really the best use of it is trying to get granular and organic in terms of those dimensions. So classically, yeah, you have a particular department level, or you have a particular, business sector. But how about down to an employee level, or how about down to a group of employees or a group of customers? So the dimensioning just naturally gets inherited from the transaction level, because the dimensions are applied, from the table, the salesman table or the customer table or the item table, to naturally drive these sub-ledger scenarios there. And they can be naturally defined. They can be alphanumeric. You can say, yeah, this is West Coast region, or this is, my product group, business services versus sales of hard goods. So very nice piece, drives down through there. You can redimension and then redeploy the dimensioning. So if I change my dimensioning piece, add new dimensions, whatever, I can recalculate my financial reporting based on the new dimensions. And it'll go back through historically transactions and redimension those based on the changes that you're making. Any new dimension wouldn't have hits, but the old ones, if you change them, rename them, whatever, they'll pick up the old and apply it to the new. Actual versus budget. So obviously, we have budgeting capability. Again, the big scenario here is the participation in creating a budget. So we start off in a rough first revision, if you will, of a budget. We share that across our various levels of the organization and see what their sub-budget scenarios are, and then we collate those back up to get the master budget and operate under that. So there's a whole process to do that. There's multiple revisions and capability, past budgets and scenarios like that. You can even do comparisons to. You can draft off an original budget to create the new budget. You can say take what was last year and bump it by 10% because I think my volumes are going up that level. So there's some quick tools to do budgeting, which typically is what keeps people, SME type companies from doing budgeting. It's just the process. Fixed asset management as well. We can identify our assets. We can have multiple books running against an asset. So we have a tax book, we have an actual, we have a accelerated depreciation schedule against an asset. So we can have all these different books and all these different suggested depreciation schedules running against the same asset. Classify assets into groups. You have buildings, you have vehicles, you have equipment, various pieces that way. You can actually, let me go back one. You can actually fix an image of that asset, so we're tracking that, and you know what that is. If you had to recognize, somebody had to go out and do an audit and check that asset. Again, we're running over multiple books, so we quickly see where's the value of that at these different book levels. You can assign an asset to a particular person in your organization, to an employee. So if somebody's got a company vehicle, we know it's assigned to Bill, and he's responsible for that. I know if I'm looking for that vehicle, I should be, checking with Bill first of all to see it. The big piece then is project management, and I think this plays really well for a lot of industries. A lot of industries don't really recognize it, but this is just a slide to talk about how project is applied in various industries, right? So our classic one here, and I think we got some representation of that in the room, is a consulting accounting practice, right? So you build a project that says I'm going to do a job. And typically it's an ongoing job. It's going to be probably multiple weeks or a timeline that's fairly significant. And we're going to run everything through that project. So think of the project as being a folder, if you will, and every sale, every purchase, every resource that's applied, people's time, materials are all being tracked through that folder and into that project so that we can build a true projection of the revenues and cost of that particular project. In call center, so you run a ticket. So let's say you just have a sales order from a regular customer, but you know that he's got a big new project, or it's a first quarter project, or things like that. Again, just so you can associate not only the revenues but all the costs related to that particular project or those types of transactions. Again, a sales marketing campaign is kind of a classic. Yeah, we're going to do a big third quarter meeting here. We're going to invite people over to the Missouri CPA organization. We're going to do all the marketing for that. We're going to track all our costs that related to that, getting this meeting together and getting you folks here through that particular project. So again, manufacturing product, you're launching a new product. So we start a project for it. We say, well, what's the initial material cost? How much material got wasted in creating the new product in the testing and development stage of that? So what did that product really cost to get to market? Those type of scenarios. These are all kind of the applications. Classic job, construction job, right? That's a project. Everything goes in there. We buy our materials. We track our times. We track change orders in there again, all the way through that. Even in the legal profession, you have a particular court case or a matter with your customer in that instance, and we want to run everything that goes on through that. How many court appearances, how many this and that, all your time tracking, so you can generate a project statement that tells you, was that profitable, that particular piece. So it really can be applied across a lot of industries. If you think about it, there's probably some application for you in all of your organizations. And the big piece about this is creating the process and the steps that you want to apply within that project, and that would all be unique by your different applications. So in what we call the work breakdown structure, what are the components of what's going to happen in this project? And what you do is you create those and you kind of save that as a template. So particularly, kind of 80-20, it's a Pareto stuff everywhere we go, right? It's always, I do most of these projects this way. You're doing a service project. You're always going to go out and do an estimate, get some measurements, all that kind of stuff. Your guy's going to spend some time out there. You want to log his time into that project. Oh, then we're going to do the actual installation, and we're going to need materials, and we're going to need other resources that different cost structures, and we're going to put those in it. So the WBS is kind of the map of what we're doing inside that project, and then the allocation of the resources into those applications, those tasks, and timelines. When are they deliverable? So you can track whether things are being done on time as well. And then budget even against that project. So here was my original budget from my original estimation. Where am I at compared to that budget at any point in time? Resource, again, we have basically in the human resource side, we have a full-blown human capital management piece inside of finance and operations. But then when we establish those resources, we can also establish, what's their cost, right? What's their payroll cost? So when we apply that resource inside of a project, inside of a transaction, we know what the cost is that will come through that. And then just tracking time and expense. So project, we use this every day. We really like to think we're the experts at this. And I know that a lot of you have directly understand what projects are about. Some of you, again, a big value inside of finance and operations is project capability. So again, what you basically get is you get a project ongoing. They're in various stages. They're working through the process, going through their timeline. You're going to get alerts and things that tell you, hey, something's overdue. Activities are going to drop to individuals' desktops to say, hey, this is your activities for the day on these particular projects. So you're going to get directed work, right? You're going to have people are going to be directed to do these particular activities. And then here's kind of a project statement. Go out there and generate over the timeline. Well, what's going on here? How much revenue, how much cost, expense, material cost, time, what's the value, what's the cost per hour? Is this thing profitable? What's my margin? Yeah, this is running okay at 36.8. Maybe for my company, maybe not for some of yours. Supply chain management. So now here's a full-blown supply chain. A lot of large distributors. I come from a background of AX distributors that are in the office supply industry, some of the largest ones in this country. So they're doing all kinds of procurement. They're doing sales transactions. They're doing stock sales, direct sales, 3PL sales, everything going through the sales organization, everything driving from either a forecasted replenishment of stock or materials, suggesting what levels you should have materials so they can support the level of sales you want, dropping right through that. So procurement, product information management. If you do have stock items, how do you release items? Who has control of items in your system? Who creates the item master? What is a complete item when it has a cost, it has a description, it has some sign-offs on various people? Maybe it's a production item that you're producing and you want to have your engineering people to bless it before it goes out the door, before it can be sold. So there's a lot of steps in what we call PIM and product information management. It's a nice tool to get control around product. If you've ever had a product scenario where a lot of people in your organization are all into your product table and creating stuff, and you're wondering, how did that go? How did that change? We have a tight process to do that. Production control. So in production, we're going to be able to define what your what your bombs are, what your routes are, what your resources are, step by step you right through the production process. You define that, we implement it, and out comes a direction to your production staff on how to do that. So again, procurement, sourcing, inventory, warehouse management is big. There is 2 levels of inventory management. Warehouse management, basically, WMS is warehouse management systems. We have an advanced level, which is barcode scanners and bin locations and dynamic bin locations based on the cubing of a product and the cubing of your bin locations, all that capability. Tier 1 WMS, very comprehensive, allowing you to use RF and barcode scanning devices as well, tracking, generating barcode labels, tracking the item all the way through. We're working with a customer right now that's doing barcode labels for implants into people's human bodies, so it's got FDA labeling all the way through, so it can be very specific and very detailed. Master planning, this is the MRP capability, not only for production to drive production orders when you need to build the stock, or driving planning for purchases when you buy to stock, and then also transfer planning when you need to move materials around your organization. If you have multiple warehouses, a central distribution concept, those type of things will help you balance inventory as well with the master planning. Again, manufacturing side can be simple or complex. We do both process and discrete. You can set those up in different levels, and then lean manufacturing applications as well, and all that integrated to accounting. Here's a display of the mobile apps. Again, we're mobile ready. You can configure some of these workspaces. So here I'm just kind of showing the order to cash kind of stuff. Customer invoicing, payments, applications. So you're on your mobile app and your ability to access the system. Again, master planning, what you see here is going to get planned and suggested purchase orders, suggested production orders, suggested transfers, all based on the window of your forecast and suggested, the materials you need to cover yourself within forecast timeline. Production floor management. Now I've launched these particular production orders out, and I'm tracking them, who are they assigned to, what stage are they at, how many of them are in progress, how many are in in flight at this time, what stage, what station they're at, what particular route and resources about. And then the BI stuff, we're going to show you a little bit of that too. It's embedded in the workspaces. You know, you're going to focus on product, you're going to focus on customers, you're going to focus on financials, all of these. There's about 30 templates, standard business-focused templates that are delivered with finance and operations that are already integrated. So all they have to do is choose which one you want, embed it in the workspace you want, and off you go. And then human resources, benefits, employee development training, all your FEMLA, all your FICA. There is U.S. payroll today, no foreign payroll. And the big piece here that's the hot button is recruiting, right? So it's a talent capability. You know that Microsoft bought LinkedIn, and now they're integrating their human resource capability, their recruiting capability via LinkedIn. So most of your folks are on LinkedIn. They're out there, you're recruiting. I'm assuming that's a big challenge today for you to find and maintain good employees. Okay, let's get into the live stuff here because I'm going to bounce around. So again, inside the human resource, human capital, you identify the employee, where they're at, what's their skill sets, what's their picture of them, what's their personal information. Again, this is all secured, obviously, and it's just ability then to identify these. You can use the HR piece lightly, or you can drive it to the full extent. As long as if you want to track resources uniquely, we have to have these employees identified. And then business intelligence, we talked a little bit about Power BI, document capability, financial reporting, there's development inside of that, and then regulatory reporting. So again, kind of the BI stuff. Again, in the development side, we have a data integration tool. This, again, I kind of mentioned this in the Business Central side. We have a lot of tools that will enable us to expedite implementation by taking your data basically via spreadsheet templates and importing it into appropriate tables and fields inside of finance and operations. So, and then that can be used ongoing. And one of the things we can do here is, this is just like the Excel designer. I can just pick a table, so like the customer table, here's my example, and I want to output this to a spreadsheet, again, because then I want to maintain, let's say in this instance, I'm going to assign new credit limits or new sales then to these accounts. So when I output that out, it's going to come out and give me this list, and in these categories of credit limit and customer group assignment, sales group assignment, I can populate this in a spreadsheet. I can do a quick cut and paste, drop those all in, and then the piece here on the button is to publish it back into the application. So this is the bidirectional Excel add-in, and we'll have capability to do that. So it's really a real time saver in terms of data maintenance, those types of things. On product side, you may have a cost change. We've got 1,000 products that you're maintaining in inventory, and the cost just goes up on 500 of them. Drop them to a spreadsheet, do a formula, pop them back in, off you go. Instead of doing some kind of massive key entry stuff to update those. And any part of your database that change. Actually, even have capability to import customers. So let's say you take on a new business, you're going to, when you buy new organizations or new organizations come into your company, quickly to migrate them onto your software ERP. A lot of nice tools inside to do that. And then on the administration side is, we have the cloud deployment. There will be the on-premise deployment. That's just starting out now. So you can do that. What we're seeing is mostly a hybrid of cloud and on-premise. So the ports that usually are on-premise now in the finance and operations side are the 24/7 operations. Maybe your production manufacturing plant runs 3 shifts, right? You can't afford to have it down for maintenance. So you have to maintain the maintenance on that particular portion of the application, because Microsoft, on their maintenance side, they're going to give you a window. You can pick various times. Usually they'll offer all weekend stuff, so that hopefully that's your, nobody's in the system. You don't have a lot of transactions or a lot of activity going on. But that's when they'll do the cloud upgrades. So you'll get a notification. You can say, no, I don't want to do it this weekend. I'll do it next weekend, that type of thing. Now, the Business Central is a multi-tenant, so they're going to do the application. They're going to do it off-peak, but they're going to do their upgrades you know, in an off-peak time, but you're not going to have much choice in that one because you're multi-tenant. It's multi-tenant meaning you're a common software application across all those customers, right? You can do things inherently in terms of configuration, again, to make your fit unique, but you're not doing anything uniquely in the code. In finance and operations, you do have access, and that's one of the pieces that we deliver is the Lifecycle Services, the LCS environment. And this is basically a portal into your application in the cloud. And what this allows you to do is to do application packages, really development, and then package it up and publish it up to the cloud. Microsoft has to validate it. It has to be good code because it's an extension of their code. It's not into their code. It's an extension of their code. So basically, we provide these environments. We spin these up for you, get you familiar with them. You have access. Basically, customers can manage this or will manage it for you and do your development. Again, we have a full-blown Microsoft shop. We've got development. We've got integration people. We've got, you know, soup to nuts on all this stuff. So, but this is a nice piece for this. And if you have, when in the on-premises where you had it split, you'd have some ability to sync these back up to the cloud piece so that you have there. So again, cloud is Microsoft's doing your backups. They're doing your restores. They're doing anything you want them to do. I say, hey, I want to restore my test system back to 2 months ago because there was some data out there I want to regenerate or something like that. You know, they'll do that for you. So you can request Microsoft to do these things for you, or you can actually do them, you know, yourself. You can get a copy of a backup and apply it. We do this kind of stuff all the time for our customers. And then this is a bit of the tools, a data management tool. So similar to what I kind of talked about on a lighter scale on Business Central, every table, every entity basically in the system is exposed for you to import, export, modify, update, bring in new, you know, you take on a new vendor line in some of your distribution companies, you know, you're going to take on a new 1,000 products. You want to be able to just import those in. You don't want to have somebody, you know, spend the time to sit there and key those through the application. Okay, let me get into the live environment here, and then we'll come back and talk about some of the subscription pieces. And as soon as I refresh it. So here's the look and feel of the live environment. Again, it's workspace oriented, and then you also have the capability in terms of navigation. You can have favorites. These are things, again, I'm always in these couple of pieces. I just click on the button, go to my credit collections, right? That'll launch that immediately. This is the one I'll show you where we wanted to do a drill down on the 180 invoices. So I drill into that, and quickly those are displayed so that I can work on these, and up here I can create an action and follow-up, and some of these is the kind of CRM integration inside. So quickly you've got the workspace capability. You can go to your favorites. You got your most recent applications that you've been in that you can go back into and launch from there. So my project manager piece that I kind of showed you there, I launch in. Here's all my open projects that are going on. I want to look at a project statement that's related to this particular stereo project. I want to calculate the current capability of that, or the statement related to this particular project, and it's showing me, you know, what my costs and revenues are here. So very easy access to these scenarios. The other thing about this is a built-in alert system. The options in here is to create alerts, and you can have change-based alerts. You can have date-based alerts. So this is kind of a poor man's workflow, and I'll talk about workflow in a second. But you can just say, hey, when this field on this table changes, I want to alert my product manager, because I've had somebody go into my product table and make some kind of cost change, and that's going to affect my profitability, and I don't want that to happen without somebody management approving it or alerting it. Now, we could also build an approval to do that, but I just want to know when something happens. So you can have an alert like on a transaction, like a project here that says, hey, if this guy doesn't deliver, doesn't complete some portion of this project in this date, I want to get alerted because I want to, you know, start to to expedite some things here and make sure that this project's on time. So a lot of capability there. Other way in terms of just the view here, what an individual's looking at in terms of this, there's personalization related to here. So if I want to go to personalize this project table display, I can say go ahead and open it up, and I want to personalize this form, and I want to add some columns to this. So all I got to do is be inside that form, and it'll open up the tables of the various columns that I have capability to get to. And then you can always do just slide things around, you know, put things in different positions. So just trying to get my table out of there it is. So these are all the fields available that I could populate onto the screen. So I want to add the category onto this screen and insert it there at the end of it. So now when I do that, I now have category. So again, no code modification, no, you know, IT involvement really. What we typically do in our implementation is we work with our champion users in each of these application areas, and we develop the personalization based on what they think is the most efficient, effective way to view and apply in their organization in that area. So what we do is we develop that, we save that personalization against the champion or the manager in that particular organization in that area, and then we copy it down to the subordinates, and then they all get the same look and feel. So where everybody's working from the same page. If you were, you know, capable, had access, again, rules and roles, scenarios, you could quickly, you know, allow people to do that themselves. And again, you can move these things around, you can size the fields, all those types of things. So very, again, we're trying to have a common code base, but a configurable look and feel, configurable look of the data, and then configurable look of the analytics behind the data. So if I want to run my analytics look here, this may or may not connect to my Power BI, but this is where my Power BI look in terms of the projects, how I've developed it, it's not connecting. But that would show me then on my project how I wanted to look at the project, how I configured my analytics related to that particular area. So you'll see that on a lot of these workspaces. You'll see the actual work displays. Again, you'll have the red and the green is go scenarios here if there's something, you know, that's overdue or something that's you need to be alerted of. And then you can also, you know, drill into the analytics side of this. So we talked a little bit about budgeting, change-based alerts. I just talked about customer credit, general journal processing. Again, the financial piece, you know, you got write-offs, you got various journals. You basically create a journal, identify what the application for it is, put in standard distributions if that's the way you want to do it, and you can store it and save it, reuse it, and you know, save it back. So a payroll entry or you know, a standard kind of write-off scenario where you always hit some certain accounts. We can set these up and have those out there for you to quickly access, update, and then post. So again, it's in the journal capability, which is, again, in all the journals and all the transactions, there's a journal behind it. It's a journal system. So if I do a sales journal, all the invoices I post will go in maybe a daily sales journal. You can always go back and reference that journal. Complete drill down audit capability. I think Chris showed you through that. Actually, when I sat in Seattle when they were launching this product about 6 years ago, there was a lot of GP accounting people sitting in there. A lot of the North Dakota guys were sitting in there. So you'll see a lot of common functionality across the financials, you know, just kind of what place you want to dive in. So for some reason, it's slowing me down here. So I'm going to jump back real quick to my PowerPoint because there's a couple other things. So the big piece to also understand about how do we deploy the applications. So there's a subscription licensing, same scenario as we kind of talked earlier. Jeremy spoke to you earlier about the Business Central. You have full license, full user licenses, and we have additional licenses, light licenses, if you will, related to team members. So the scenario here with finance and operations, there's a minimum 20 full user license requirement. okay? So this is why, this is probably our higher scale product. Chris is going to talk about more about this and how he believes they're all positioned. But this is where we need 20 user minimum to start to engage with it. We need, be very upfront about that. We need 20 users. Now, after that, if that's your core users, your internal finance folks, your some management people, some of your, order processing team, inventory teams, those type of things, the team member license or the lighter license says, hey, I can do some of these applications. I just can't do everything, right? I can do some of these. We can allow some tables open for these light users. And then, but their usual focus is, like a warehouse team or a production team. They're going into a production order and identifying their time and what they did on a route, finishing a process in a route. Warehouse management guys are going out and doing some cycle counting, or they're doing, staging or shipping an order. They're saying, hey, this order's been picked. I'm going to ship it now, advance it to the ship stage so that it can be invoiced, those types of things. So the subscription, again, on the full licensing allows everything. And the full user, we're going to talk about some of the licensing packages here. The full user is going to get all these other connected packages as well, and we'll talk about those. There's finance and operations, which is your full ERP, finance all the way through order to cash, purchase to pay, asset management, production, all these pieces. And then there's these extensions in terms of sales, customer field service, which is a very focused scenario in terms of you're a service organization, you're out in the field fixing equipment or things that you may have sold to the customer, or just a general service organization. The situation with the team light licenses is they can use multiple devices. They can have a license. They go in these different places to get into their activities and into their applications. Or you can have an actual device license that maybe out in the warehouse there's one device, but 20 people in the warehouse go in there and use it. So that could be a light license as well. It's the same applications on that one device, right? Not all the applications, a focused application display, but anybody can jump on. It's not a name user scenario at that point. These can be more name user, and then I can go any place to use them. So there's some capability to light these up in different levels. And why Dynamics 365? Why finance and operations? It's got a lot of depth and breadth. It's got a lot of configurability. We really talk to this greater productivity. It's focused. It's management by exception, totally integrated through financials. Users can jump on, do what they got to do, and they know that the financial impact of that is going to land in the right place. The built-in intelligence is a really great tool. Everybody's doing these analytics today. Everybody's got a different look at those. It's a way you go to market and the way you look to see, how do you drive more profit, more revenue from your business space. And then it's ready for growth. Again, this is scalable. Chris will talk to some of them. We have 2,000-3,000 users on some of these finance and operation applications. Again, following application, sales, marketing, field service, these are extensions, but the base piece is finance operations. This is the piece that we're delivering. There can be a license if you are a retailer and you had a retail environment, and you have point of sale type transactions. There's a special package for finance and operations in retail. And then talent is another add-on that if you get the standard license that Chris, and we're going to talk about in a second, you can get all this. And then you can get retail and finance combined for a smaller license since you're not using all the applications. So the unified is retail focused, retail and talent, and then the 210 Dynamics 365 plan gets you basically everything.